It says we are live. Hello, Kayla. Welcome to the show. If you can hear this, if you can't, do not welcome yourself to the show.
Take it back.
I feel like on the last show we were a little hot audio-wise, so I have adjusted the levels. Please tell me, how do you find it?
They're going to say great.
I'm sure it'll be everything is A-okay, Dave, and I'll go, okay. And then I'll go like, wait a minute, is it? And you'll go,
Just kidding. I can't hear you at all.
Why must you lie to me, I'll say. Oh, well, but that is what we do to each other, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Boop. Will it work?
This is good
Boop.
audio.
Well, we're in the green room. It doesn't matter right now.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to get, nah. Because on the old show, I was looking at we could keep the logo up. The flamingo logo, because it's bright and colorful and nice and cheery. And I thought, well, I'll put this one up too. And I don't think I got one with a transparency layer. Or if I did, I'm not able to find it right now. And I do not want to waste valuable on-air time, or any more, rather, than I already have. Let me pull up my thing here. There we go.
Kayla says, I can't tell you about the levels. I'm too busy deciding whether to welcome myself.
Welcome, listener.
There you go.
Nice. Aw, snap.
And we're out of time.
Oh, bye.
Sorry about that. Good night, everybody.
David's going to have too much fun with this mixer.
I still have to transfer. That's the thing. I'm just going to sort of let it grow organically. I've got the first 9 slots filled up. Those filled up pretty quick because I got the show intro, outro, news, and a few odds and ends, bits and bobs. So we'll see where it goes from there. I've got some ideas, but I've also been too lazy to sit down and actually do it. Do have this, though.
You just had that on a constant loop in the background of this show.
Yeah, that would be annoying. Psych, it would be annoying. I would not do that. Geared up. I hope everybody has their Ninja Turtle questions. Or are you ready to bring up Ninja Turtle topics? Because tonight is the night.
Not that it can't be any other night. Because
no, tonight is specifically earmarked for it. So you know what you're getting into. It's not going to be like, oh, he just snuck up again. Like this, you're warned beforehand. Let's see. We've been 2 minutes. Yeah, that's not bad for a nice little green room. Our steam is slowly building. I realized no matter what I do, I forget about one thing, and that is the headphones. Because I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool to go up and reveal that I was wearing a mask? But I can't. I'm not going to put on a mask and then headphones over it, or try to fit a mask over headphones. So you're just going to have to figure out what's going on when we get there.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, I can hold it up. I'll definitely hold it up and I'll point out the other one, but I'm not going to wear anything. It's ridiculous. Plus, I got to talk into a microphone. If I had anything covering my face, it'd be unprofessional at best. I don't know what would be at worst. God knows. Also, if you're, watching, sound off in the typing square. I get a lot of feedback after the fact, and people say, "Hey, I was there." And I go, "Where were you at the moment? Say hi at least." I like to.
Don't be
I like
strangers,
strangers. Know you're there. I don't need to hear about it after the fact, where you say, "Well, I was lurking silently in the back,
in the dark,
with a blowpipe and a poison dart, taking out other fans." I don't need any of those people. Oh my God, I'm reacting to camera. No, the camera is not on yet.
You always do.
I know. Well, that's the way it goes. That's life. C'est la vie. 30 seconds before the show officially starts.
My God.
With the old whistle.
Why would you...
TGRI.
You would have been the one to yell at me for having a metal straw in a metal drink where it makes all that noise. It's like ice.
Well, number one, I can comport myself in a professional way, even with a loud cup. Number two, hello,
Shouldn't you do that for the
Jamie.
green room though?
Whatever. Not really
Hey, Jamie.
here. Hello, Jamie.
From down the road.
Right up the road a spell. All right, it looks like we're ready to start, and by that I mean it's been 5 minutes. So here we
You're
go.
listening to FFOP Radio.
Reach the
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. How do I sound? Do I sound okay? I need to know. Please vindicate me. How do I sound? No, thank you for showing up to this impromptu live show. What we are going to be talking about is the Ninja Turtles, obviously, because they come up so much. And I figured, well, let's just talk about them because why not? But now here's my problem. As we get rolling, here's my thing. The Ninja Turtles are always something I lead into from somewhere. So unless we just want to talk in general, we can talk about the movie. I guess I need a springboard is what I'm getting at. What are we going to talk about? What are we going to consider canonical, number one? And what are the issues, what are the topics that everybody's interested in? I know number two, Secret of the Use is a hot button issue for some. And number three, it's awful. We also have the cartoon. Check out my little water bottle here. It might be loud, but whatever. It's got ooze on it.
I can only reference the movie that we saw.
Yeah, so you never saw any of the cartoons?
I probably did. I used to dress up with my cousins as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and stuff like that, but I
But all the details are gone.
don't remember any of it. I am sure I saw the movie a long time ago too, but I don't remember any of it.
So here's the thing. The only thing keeping me from watching a lot of this old content, especially my Ninja Turtles content, is the fact that now, whereas DVDs were the convenience of the past, they are now the pain in the ass of the present. Because a streaming service, you go click through a couple of menus and you find anything. But if you're going to have to, because if you want to go down that rabbit hole, we've got disc after disc after disc for the movies. Number one, because you got the three original movies, the animated soft reboot sequel that was pretty good. It had Patrick Stewart. And then you have the ones that shall not be named by me, the Michael Bay produced but not directed, still not good.
So are you going to introduce me?
Oh, Chris is over there on the couch. She is the co-host typically. Let me fix up her video.
Yeah, you had me
Woo!
sit here like
Well, I got excited. We
With the
jumped
blue
into it. I
light.
wanted to know where to go. What, the blue light?
yeah, the blue light of the camera
Oh.
from the green room. You see, it was there in the green room.
Yeah, but I don't see that side of the camera, so I had no idea it had a blue light.
It does.
But here, let me get a physical prop. Krista vamp for a minute about the Ninja Turtles.
Vamp, vamp, vamp.
Real.
I was going to wear my April O'Neil costume, but then I decided not because we couldn't have any fans on in here and I'd die.
Right, so I'm wearing my semi Casey. Oh, that's what I'll do first before I show you this thing. So here's the thing. Here's the mask I made, right? Like, did it all, hand painted, whatever. It fits like a dream. It's very comfortable. Then there's this NECA thing over here that's authentic to the movie in shape. I'm gonna have to distress it by hand because it's too pristine to be
Yeah,
Casey
it's
Jones.
like white.
But like, what do you think comparatively? Let me get this baby. So there we go. This one's like from, I forget which incarnation this is, like one of the newer cartoons and or movies, and this is the classic 1990 version.
I don't know. I like yours, but the other one seems to be like wider and longer.
The authentic, the film authentic version I like for aesthetic purposes, but the one I made is so much more comfortable to wear. But now back to my other thing. So this thing here, this is the entire series of the Ninja Turtles animated series. Bingo. But here's the thing. Look how many discs there are. And if you heard me complain about record players, you're going to hear a similar complaint about DVDs here. Because this is adorable and cute and I love it. But I need to find a way to digitize all of these and just throw them on the TV. Because I would have, maybe that'll be a Raspberry Pi project in the near future. Because I've been thinking about this and this might be a good thing. Good, relatively. If I can rip all of these and get them onto a Raspberry Pi, I've got this tiny little screen on my wish list. Boop, just have constant, well, maybe I'll get flagged for copyright, but I don't monetize these anyway. So I'll have the constant Ninja Turtles. Seasons 1 through maybe 4. It gets a little wacky, like most shows.
So how long does something, you have to wait for something to be like the public domain?
It's the life of the artist plus 75 years. That is unless a corporation picks it up and they keep renewing it.
Yeah. Okay, so.
Yeah, if there's not like next of kin or whatever, but like the Ninja Turtles will never fall into public domain as long as pop culture exists.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be like the Marvel universe or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I wish there was especially the first season. The first season of the cartoon, we can start there. The first season of the cartoon is great. Almost all of the classic stuff that everybody knows is in season 1. The hot rodding teenagers from Dimension X, the 2 general rock monsters, right? Because you get to all the weird characters because it gets convoluted, let's say, because obviously they have to find more ooze and more weird characters, and you have more mutants and stuff, and you have Manta Ray and the Triceratops character and Mondo Gecko, and it goes off the rails.
Well, it has to. If you need something to keep going, they need to keep creating characters.
Yeah.
You can't just have the turtles doing the same thing with the same dude and his little minions.
But the comics do that. Like Marvel has been doing that. DC has been doing that. The Ninja Turtle comic books have been doing that.
Yeah, but the Marvel comic books always have somebody like random come into them. Unless they don't follow unless the movies don't follow them at all. Because like they have that weird purple guy that comes out, the Vision or whatever the hell his name is.
Right. Well, the movies and the comics are way different. So that's the thing too. In the comics, the original comics anyway for the Ninja Turtles, they all have red, number 1. That's like everybody's favorite little sniglet about it is they all used to have red bandanas initially. But it was a lot darker. Like there was murder and stuff. Like it was Eastman and Laird was pretty dark. And so when the cartoon popped and it was like so G-rated, the movie was right there in the middle. We're going to have to watch, maybe after this show, we're going to have to watch some of the first season because it is so good. Like it's got so many quotable lines. And if you are an Ninja Turtles fan or even are in even a small way associated, you need to see like what started it, because the cartoon is what really rocketed them into like the stratosphere as far as that goes, because it was like the comics I had never heard of, and then they just popped on a Saturday morning cartoon, and I don't know what about it. I don't know if it needed to be Turtles, because when I was growing up, what me and my trio of buddies would do is we all would take different phyla of animals and do our Teenage Mutant Ninja equivalent of. So I was amphibians. So I did essentially the equivalent in Toad version. Then I had a friend who did reptiles, and there was lizards. So not turtles, but still in the same sort of genre. And then we had one that was, buddy who was into mammals, so he did the gerbil equivalent. So nobody picked birds. Nobody likes birds. They're too frail, I feel.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking about ostriches or like the flightless birds, then we can talk. But by and large, like let's say if, God forbid, then maybe we maybe dodged a bullet. But imagine instead of like a kid carrying a glass bowl of 4 baby turtles, it was carrying home like a wire cage of 4 finches and dropped him into the sewer. You know, how would that happen? Number 1. But number 2, like finches and birds and all flightless birds by their nature have to be very, very light to stay in the air.
Finches are flightless?
No, flighted.
Oh.
Flightless birds need to be heavy. Flighted. Finches are flighted.
I feel like if they did that with birds, you'd have just like 4 Pidgeotos or whatever the highest like fucking Pokemon is for that evolution.
But they'd have to be anthropomorphic. That's what holds the key. Is like you would need them to be like 4 human teenager shaped bird people.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
Yeah,
Like
and that's the
Birdman.
problem with birds. You don't have limbs, like
Yeah.
with fingers and stuff. They're all hidden by feathers. So that's why turtles, I think, worked out, because you can be like, oh, you can see the analogs. The shell is pretty cool. They're not going to be slimy. They don't need to stay wet all the time, like amphibians don't need to do.
Yeah.
We've had ninja mammals before. It was ripe for the picking. Plus, they just totally ripped off Daredevil wholesale, essentially.
So Daredevil, the comic, was before Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Yeah, I think I've talked about this before.
Yeah,
on
you
some-
have. I just didn't know, like...
Yeah, because not canonically, but like within the lore, the chemical that blinds Daredevil and gives him his powers is the same shit that rolls into the sewer and runs afoul of our turtles. So, but you can't say that is the real, because then now Disney would sue them. You just have to make an implication.
So do a majority of, like, superheroes, all come from New York? Like, majority of them?
No, like Superman came from Illinois.
Oh, well.
I mean,
He's also the most boring one to me.
right, but a lot of them are in New York because it's you can't. It's not going to be. It would be hard to be a superhero without like a big city. Because imagine, like, let's say the X-Men or let's say the Ninja Turtles, like, are in downtown Mesa, where like low buildings, open streets. It's not very crowded. Like, Arizona would be the worst place for superheroes to pop up, because you need a crowded city with lots of dark places to
Well,
hide.
there's crowded cities all over the place. Like, you don't see, there's no like superhero, whatever group in like Philadelphia or like Denver.
There might be. We could look at my comic cards, my collection, because that'll tell us.
Press the
everywhere.
nerd button.
I'll look at my Marvel Universe cards. But yeah, you couldn't have, like, the Ninja Turtles could not live in a place that was not New York.
Well,
And
no,
that
I'm not
by-
saying them. I'm just
Well,
talking.
yeah, by extension, all superheroes, because you need, number one, the crowded city streets for all the hiding places. And there's money in New York, so you can get that. But number two, you need to be surrounded by a population completely desensitized by weird stuff. Like, if you're going to be a superhero and still sort of make it, like let's say you do want to like run around the city at night or whatever, and somebody catches you out of the corner of their eye and you're dressed like a weirdo, or like you're Daredevil in Hell's Kitchen. I would prefer to be in a place where people minded their own business. And in small towns, number one, it's going to be very easy to find out who Daredevil is in a town of like 1,200 people. You go, huh? I got one blind guy, and there's one guy who teaches like martial arts and is a lawyer and happens to kick a lot
This
of
is
ass.
suspicious.
Yeah. So you need a big city like New York. You need a big. So that's why it's always sort of the perfect archetype and bubble. Like the Pendergast series all the best ones take place in New York anyway, because it's a crowded place. And then that's why Raphael could just run to the movies, and they like a guy in a cab, and he'd be like, "What was that?" And the guy goes, "I think it was a turtle in a trench coat." And he goes, "Anyway, where are you going to LaGuardia?" So let's see. Kayla says, "Don't the X-Men have a character from Arizona?" Phoenix, nice, but no, space. Wrong Phoenix. The Phoenix of the Andromeda Galaxy, not of Arizona. I'm always getting their mail though. Oh man. So, but yeah, I don't know. You need a big city. You need lots of people, and you need a very high tolerance of shenanigans.
I can go to Miami.
Wrong type of shenanigans.
They
Like-
at least would ignore you.
Yeah, but there's nothing to do in Miami. Like all the money is in like
They're
they're
in Detroit.
Here's the thing. Superheroes are there because supervillains are there. And there's no supervillains in places where there isn't shit to steal, where there isn't science happening, where there isn't. So that's the thing. You need to have that as well. And New York is a huge, like there's weird science stuff. You can imagine anything you want in all those buildings. That's how the ooze was created. Somebody, David Warner in New York, he says, let's make some ooze and throw it down the sewer. And everybody goes, okay. And then we have the Ninja
There it
Turtles.
is.
Yeah, and then 10 years later, he goes, oh, that was a bad idea. Now we have giant dandelions, and we don't want those, so we've got to get rid of all this stuff. The EPA is making us.
EPA.
David Warner, all the way from England, working at this. Oh, what a crazy movie the second movie is. It's controversial, I know, but I do like Toka and Razor. Yeah, you haven't seen the second one either. Oh, God,
No.
Krista. Maybe that's why. Before we need to do that, before we need to do any more of these shows, you needed to do that. We need to see the whole trilogy, the original trilogy. That's my, like the Star Wars, everybody loves their original trilogy. I got mine. But mine's better.
I don't get how you haven't made me watch these in the last 10 years. Like, I just saw the first movie with you last year.
Well, I know them so,
this year.
aside from the third one, I barely, let's say, I only realized there was a third one maybe 15 years ago. So I don't know that one very well, nor do I like it very much, but we can watch it too.
Jamie says, Wikipedia to the rescue. American Eagle is an Arizona superhero from the Marvel Comics.
Yeah, when was the last time he was mentioned ever, outside of this typing square?
1976.
Yeah, he showed up in an ancillary version of Captain America. He's like, hey, man, I'm from Arizona. He's like, nice to meet you. And he runs off.
Bye.
Don't give a shit. Where were they with the... I've lost the thread, but...
Oh, because you haven't made me watch the whole series, and I just saw the first movie when we did the breakdown of
they're
it.
so ingrained. I feel like I know the first one by heart, and the second one is... The only reason I don't revisit the second one more is because of the gut punch of the Super Shredder. I brought this up before, but it is a legitimate reason to harp on, people. What the problem is they tease you with the concept of the Super Shredder. They spend so much time and effort and money on this awesome costume. And then, a Deus Ex Machina, he kills himself essentially by being so stupid. Here's the thing. If you haven't seen it, there's so much to unpack because I was just like, well, I'll just go, it's got to go to the beginning. Whatever. At the end of the movie, Shredder has like a little vial of mutagen left that he keeps lording over people like he's going to, he's going to hostage situation somebody with it. Well, toward the end of the movie, Michelangelo does a Johnny Be Good type situation with a keytar and blasts Shredder through the wall of the warehouse where the Vanilla Ice concert takes place.
Literally Vanilla Ice concert?
He does the ninja rap.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, my God. We'll talk about that. So, yeah, Shredder gets blasted through the wall, and they go, oh, well, just like at the end of the first movie, he was crushed. And... it's so awesome is the Super Shredder. I'm even willing to look past the batshit bonkers insane concept that the ooze he drank mutated his costume too. Because he goes from regular Shredder, regular helmet. He's got like the 3 spikes on the side, the 2 on the left, and then the gauntlets essentially. He gets crushed by a pier essentially. drinks the ooze, pops out, and is now roughly 8 feet tall and 350 pounds of stacked brick shithouse. And not only that, his helmet has grown. All of the spikes, like everything that was Shredder is now Super Shredder thanks to the ooze.
It's the special malleable metal.
And what an awesome, like incredible costume to tease us with, only to have him, do more angry Shredder things. He hulks out essentially. He loses all logic, and they're still under the rest of the pier, so he's punching things, and the rest of it collapses on him, and there's another, like in the first one, they got to end on sort of a light note, and they keep it going, because Shredder says, I made another funny, like breaking the fourth wall to be like, hey, audience, like it's the end of the movie again, and here I am, Splinter,
Hey.
Giving you another hilarious joke. But also, they did not bring, what's her name? Her name fell out of my head, but they didn't bring back the original April.
Oh, yeah. We talked about that because she wanted more money.
Judith Hogue. I don't know what it was. I can't remember, but not important. Second one was serviceable. It was fine. I could have way done without Kano. Not Kano. Is it Kano? The pizza delivery guy. I think his name is Kano.
I have a question because you mentioned the Hulk, and it's not going to be TMNT related. Do you think the Hulk and what's his face were based off of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde's character? Just because like the doctor and then like they turn into this crazy monster and
Good night, Kayla. No, the Hulk originally was based off of Frankenstein. Like even designed physically was designed off of Frankenstein.
Oh.
So
it makes me think of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde every time we watch something with the Hulk or whatever, just because it's similar, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure there's no fresh ideas. So yes, it is part of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but it's also
Frankenstein looks ish, not even really.
Well, because Frankenstein is a creation of man, and so is the Hulk, but it's just sort of the self.
Right. So it's like a conglomeration of both.
Yeah, more or less. But that's the. Everybody's origin is so far from what they are now. It's like it doesn't matter really, because the Hulk has been 400,000 different things, from a smart gray guy to literally two separate entities, physical entities that just hang out with each other, depending on what's source material.
Really?
Yeah. Earth X. Everybody's mutation just sort of keeps going, or their whatever it is that makes them special just keeps going. And the inference in this book, it's not explicit, but the thing that I inferred was like all of the times that the Hulk was changing, like his ego or the body shift, or he'd get smarter, turn gray or whatever, were just leading toward an ultimate
separation.
Rift. Yeah, so it was this 12-year-old Bruce Banner and this giant green gorilla he would roll around with, basically as a familiar that he would command places.
Weird.
But that's happened to the Turtles too, because later in the series they get the power to like super mutate. If you start out with something, everything does this, because Pokemon did it too.
Super evolutions.
The super evolutions. If you are changed physically by something, whether it be radiation or ooze or whatever magic, there's always like a super duper Saiyan version of it. There's always a ceiling above the ceiling. But that's when it gets like, I think around season 9 or 10, they actually just had like a human, because they were trying to stay relevant and stay, whatever the term for woke was in the 90s. They get like a sidekick of color who's a human who, is normal human, but has a Super Saiyan mutant power. So I was like, what? when you break away from the 4, it goes wrong. I get that you want to add something, but they all fill specific archetypes, and we've got a perfect slice of this pie in each of them, and they all fit together. Trying to cram another piece in never works. Like as a permanent addition, like you can add Casey Jones, you can add like the hot riding teenagers. They interact with these characters, but at the core, you need the 4 of them, not 5 or 6. Because I've not looked into this because I don't want to, but in one of the incarnations, there's another 5th turtle. So there's been 5.
Wasn't there a girl or something?
In the next mutation, Venus was a girl and had anatomical features unique to her and her alone, not being a mammal. But there's a one with a yellow bandana or a yellow mask with a completely different weapon that I'm starting to see places, and I'm like, because the turtles are built on duality. We have, for Leo, we have Raph, and for Donnie, we have Mikey. Like for the leader, we have the rebel, and for the smart, we have, or the smart and uptight, we have the laid back and sort of laissez-faire.
Yeah.
If you add a 5th one in there, who do they play off of?
All of them. They're like the wild card.
But it doesn't, that's the thing, it doesn't work. It's like when you add, like when Casey Jones comes in, he plays off of Raph because it's like against like. You can play against type, you can play with type. So with Raph and Leo, it's against type. Leo is trying his hardest to be a good leader and a good influence by pulling, and Raph says, no, I'm rebelling. But when he meets a force of rebellion in Casey Jones, then it's a different dynamic, but basically the same coin, just a different side.
Maybe they plan. If you've been seeing recently, you've been seeing a yellow one.
Yeah.
Maybe they have plans to introduce a 6th one so that
it doesn't matter anymore. Like here's the thing about this too, is like the Turtles property started with Eastman and Laird, but then, for I think Family Home Entertainment bought the rights to the cartoon. Then the rights got sold to Nickelodeon. So it's no longer the home team.
Yeah.
Like whatever your home team is, that started with all local people, we go, yeah, we're all local boys. And now it's completely diluted. That's why I sort of stick to up until, let's say, at most when the cartoon series died. So I'm going to count the entire series and the movies as what I'm calling canonical, because then, Miramax and Nickelodeon and everybody starts dipping their fingers in their pot. Yeah. Like, same thing with Star Wars. People will say the first Star Wars are the true original, whatever, is Lucas's vision or yada yada, and then it gets diluted from there. So everybody's got their point of contention where they draw the line. That's where I draw my line, because once a property is shifted, it is no longer beholden to the artist or creator. It's now like, what's going to make money?
Right. Yes.
Or, what kind of new action figures can we get out of this?
Right. What can make money? What can appeal to the generation that we're going to be pushing towards?
So you reskin them, you change the lingo, you make them, because those archetypes are, they're not baseless. Everybody's going to have them, and the Ninja Turtles are a perfect example of them. And they're also semi-pliable in that you can always have this version, like this generation's version of angst without being offensive.
Yeah.
Like in Raphael, you can always have like a snooty without being like, he have attitude without falling into necessarily like the vocabulary of a bygone generation. And there will always be a place in society and in pop culture for like the leader who's just trying his hardest, or like I like the tech nerd. And that you can see as nerds have gotten more popular, Donatello has become more complex visually as a character. So when when they first started, they all looked alike. They're all just turtles with masks. But as nerd culture rose, you see Donatello in different incarnations start to get accoutrements like steampunk goggles and gadgets, and he makes the turtle communicators and stuff. So by the time we get to the Michael Bay thing, he's nothing but like a Google, Alexa turtle Amazon pod thing. Because nerds are big, and the more you can say about him visually, the better. But they've all sort of become cluttered. Donatello is just the more overt one, because when you say nerd, you say, well, glass is number one, you build from there. Like with Raphael, like let's say in the most current incarnation, you say he's a tough guy by making his shell like more roughed up and damaged, and you give Mikey that's the thing. We don't need to be told visually the character. Like when you would watch the cartoon or watch the movie, the only thing delineating them was their color of their bandanas visually. It was their character that separated them. Like it was, I don't need, or I don't necessarily need anything, but what I don't want is like to be told redundantly what a character is by multiple layers of garbage hanging off of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because when we watched the first movie, the original, whatever, you can tell just by their attitudes that we're all different. Who was
the
who.
way you carry yourself. Like I don't need to have the spoiler alert of like, oh, this is the cool dude because he wears flip-flops, or like, oh, he's the whatever.
I knew Leo was the leader out of the four of them just by him talking.
They're dynamic, how they interact with each other.
Yeah.
But it's that it's becoming the longer a story lasts, the more people it tries to appeal to, the blunter it has to be. So when the cartoon pops, for example, they all look the same, so you have to sort of be in the know, because all my parents, my friends' parents, everybody who was out of that age range to know like the specifics just knew them by color, and they would go, oh, it's either red, the blue, the whatever. Or you get like the idiot parent who are like, oh, is that the green one? Like, why would they have a green mask? They're turtles, you idiot. Like,
they should just be naked then.
Is he the yellow turtle? Shut up, adults. But yeah, so you would have to know.
Right.
Now you can, it's simple to be, it's so easy to be a parent. Like today, all you have to do is like look at the thing that your kid is interested in and what they gravitate toward. You don't even have to take like a deeper interest than just looking at it. It's so like redundant. The turtles have lost all their finesse and all their, everything that made them them, like having Splinter hold them back because he doesn't, for protection's sake. That I feel like is lacking in the newer ones. As soon as you take that, especially because of the ninjutsu aspect too, like you're supposed to be secret and in the night or whatever. Yeah.
Well, and it's taken away any mystery. The way you're talking about it makes it that it's taken away anything questionable, like anything that you can imagine yourself. Like, because if it's showing on them physically, then you don't have to think about.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
You can't use your imagination because it's right there.
Yeah, it's not open to interpretation, which everybody is afraid of. That's why I like the old canonical Turtles too, because it's not so cut and dry. You can make a case for. It's come up on this show, and it was weird, but it gained traction somehow that Leonardo was the most likely turtle to commit suicide. And
yeah, I agree with that still.
I still disagree, but the fact that there is room for that interpretation means that that character has depth, and it's only there because of the stuff before the newer incarnation.
And I am literally only taking that from the one movie.
Yeah, which is pretty close. It's as close as you're going to get, because when you nerds like to cut hairs. Whether you're a comic book nerd or a movie nerd or a music nerd, whatever kind of nerd you are, you like to split hairs. So that's the thing. If we get somebody in here who's 15 years younger than me, whose childhood mirrored mine, Turtles wise, except they saw the reboot of the 2000 whatever 8, 5, 6, whenever they popped again on Nickelodeon. I don't know what that kid would be about because I don't know what the newest incarnation is.
Yeah.
They changed them physically, obviously. The only thing I know for sure is that Michelangelo has a chipped tooth like Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber. But that's it.
Nice.
But you I guess you don't really need any of that. It's like the Power Rangers, kind of. They've been going for 400 years because they all just fill archetypes. You just sort of fall in and out of the flavor that you're offered at the time. Because with the for the Power Rangers especially, you can have dinosaurs or mythical creatures or spaceships or the ninja one, or there was cars.
Yeah, there were a lot of Power Rangers.
Yeah, and so I'm fine with a nice Turtles reboot every once in a while because you never know what you could shake out with. Maybe it'll go back to being dark one day because it's gone from whatever the 80s, 90s cartoon to the movies and their degradation to like that little reboot to the Nickelodeon thing to another like the Fox one and then the new movies. I'm still waiting for, and it'll probably never happen. I can talk about this with Scott too, but the return of like physical costumes and stuff, because I think that's what was kind of a bummer too. Is like when you
like real life, a real action, or
like in the first 3 movies they were live action dudes in suits.
Yeah, not cartoons.
To shoot around that. And that's the thing that also streamlined things is when you have a CGI turtle, you can throw a bunch of crazy shit all over him because there's zero weight to it and there's no way Donatello's going to lose his motorized computer goggles.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've got 4 dudes in suits who have to jump around and fight and kick, you've got to be what you're supposed to be, a ninja. Most ninjas don't carry around gewgaws and like essentially the equivalent of like fuzzy rear view mirror dice all over them. You're like in the second movie, Raphael has to sneak into a group of possible foot recruits with Kato or Kano. God, I can't remember his name. Whatever is Ernie Reyes Jr. And he has to sneak into the middle of an arena to pull bells off of a mannequin with a foot soldier costume on and hand them to Kano without making a sound. And he could not do that if he had shit hanging off of him.
Right.
Like, you have to move quietly in the night. And imagine, like, you say, well, what about this? Michelangelo carries nunchucks, and those can bang all over the place. He keeps those things secured. Like, if you look at his belt, those things are always secured. They're making no noise. He's not wearing a big wooden necklace to bang around his shell. He's not wearing a bunch of, like, beads and gewgaws. Like, Donatello's not wearing crap all over the place. They're sneaking all over the place.
So are the problems that they face in the older stuff different from the problems that they face in the newer stuff?
No,
I wonder.
It's the same.
Like there's no like more, real world problems.
When you break through the cycle to do another reboot, from what I've seen, they're pretty much lockstep. I've seen a rebirth of Baxter Stockman. He's come a couple of times. He's even changed his race a couple of times. We've seen the Shredder come back each time. Krang's come back each time. There's not a whole lot to rework in the Ninja Turtles because since it's not a super old property, there's not a lot of either gender or racial or any of those things that typically fall into old cartoons.
Keno. Jamie said
Keno, yes, sorry, Keno. I couldn't, again, I know it's Ernie Reyes Jr. and he works and let's talk about this for just a second. Kino, what a fucking idiot. So he just is a pizza delivery guy who, just knows kung fu, shows up to deliver a pizza to pretty sure is April's apartment, and just stumbles upon the most obvious crime in the world. Like, the bottom floor of what looks like a department store is full, I repeat, full of dudes. All of the lights are on everywhere, and they all have nylons over their head. So, and they're talking loudly. So, once again, keep in mind, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. All the lights are on. Dudes everywhere, talking loudly, handing each other boxes as if they're all just moving men. Kino comes down in his pizza dude jacket holding a pizza. And he goes, "Hey, you're all under arrest." And let's put the stupidness of that aside really quick. One of the dudes with the pantyhose on his face looks at Kino, pulls the mask up. Why? Why would you do that? And he goes, "What are you, the police? If you think he's the police, don't pull your fucking mask up." Whatever.
It's just pantyhose, so.
He goes, "What are you, night security?" And Kino goes, "No, I'm pizza delivery." And then,
Did they
whatever.
kill him?
Well, this is it's the turtle emergence scene. So in the first movie, you don't see them. It's kind of like Jaws. They show up and basically just save April's ass, but all under the cover of darkness. Since a bunch of milksop parents complained and were like, "It's too dark and scary," as all of the tough guys with the pantyhose on their head are, closing in on Kino and giving menacing bits of dialogue, the turtles just run down the stairs into the naked light of the fluorescent tubes of the room, jump over Kino, and have a madcap, zany fight using zero weapons, because that's the other thing the parents complain about. They don't want to be using their weapons anymore. So Donatello subdues a man via a blow-up clown. Michelangelo jumps into the equivalent of a Pepperidge Farm store and beats a man, presumably to death, with sausages. And I think Mikey uses a yo-yo to subdue some people at some point, and
I feel like them not being able to use their weapons takes away half of their character.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Because they all had their own separate things, and it's all martial arts related.
Yeah, it really waters them down, and that's part of the problem with the second one, and why I don't like to revisit it, is because the only weapon used, if you want to get into the nitty gritty, is Splinter uses a bow and arrow to sever a rope that keeps the turtles who were caught in a big. Okay, so when Shredder comes back, he has to essentially live in a junkyard. From the first movie to the second movie, he went from having basically
Everything.
that pleasure island from Pinocchio to living in a garbage dump that he basically had to reclaim from his henchman Tatsu. Because Tatsu, got big nuts about him. He's like, "Well, the Shredder got smashed to death. I'm going to take whatever's left of the foot and do something." So Shredder shows up and he's like, "Nah, I got this." And that's basically it. But whatever. That's the thing. There's one arrow fired. It just lets them go because they're now having to fight in a junkyard because
With no weapons.
Yeah, and it's
'Cause Tatsu
so
didn't pay the rent.
low rent. I take that back too. Maybe Donatello uses his bow once, and I think it was probably only put in to be like, "Aha, weapons don't work," or to appease the parents. So when Toka and Razor, they are the snapping turtle and wolf babies that were mutated by Shredder to fight the turtles. So Toka Donatello gets a ninja would never do this either, by the way. Donatello gets his staff up and he gives the old like Louisville Slugger swing. He goes bam, and he hits Toka in the front of the shell, and what a fall from grace, because it's like this slapstick bullshit. But Donatello, after he hits the shell of Toka, goes like he's a tuning fork. And he goes, oh, a little turtle wax will clean, Bondo will fix that crack right up. And there's, but hilariously followed up by Toka picking up Donatello like a drunk bar patron and throwing him into the night sky.
Wow. Sometimes
that movie is worth it. And to be fair, too, the design of Toka and Razor is really cool. Originally, they wanted to do Slash. No, they wanted to do Bebop and Rocksteady. That didn't work out. Then they wanted to do Slash and something else. They couldn't get the rights to that, so that's how we ended up with Toka and Razor.
Did they make up those characters?
Yeah. They needed to be made of whole cloth for the movie because they could not... Either they didn't want to or they couldn't afford the rights to more Ninja Turtles characters or whatever. Which is fine. It's like a dirge of characters. Why not add 2 more?
Right.
But we're in a different world. It was kind of nice. But that's the thing, too, is since they were babies, they were completely toothless, ironically. There was no stakes in this movie at all. Like, so much so that we have Toka and Razor, the Foot Clan, essentially clad them in junk yard armor, like with hubcaps and shit, because why not? But since they are infant animals, they are both very dumb. Toka and Razor are very dumb animals. So they are treated like children. The Foot Clan basically drive them to the middle of New York in a horse trailer. They lower the thing, and Tatsu, he's like, go play. And that's what they do. So they, like Toka and Razor, basically just go around knocking poles over and punching cars and stuff. And so it's completely toothless. Like, they feel zero imposing because they're just infant creatures who have been made into monsters who now get to screw around in New York, and we're supposed to feel afraid.
So why? I mean, was there a reason why they wanted to make them as babies as opposed to
No, it was a fuck up because that's the thing is the Shredder sends out the Foot by way of Tatsu. He says, get me the 2 most vicious animals you can get your hands on. So they come back with a snapping turtle and a wolf. So they go through the thing, they put the ooze, it's like a tense ordeal where they're like, what's going to happen? That's part of it too, is there's a little bit of a lead up that I'm cutting into. They don't know if this is going to work and what is going to happen. So when we get this grand reveal of Toka and Razor, this incredible animatronic suited animals of Toka and Razor, and Shredder's plan is, very imposing figures. He goes, wolf, snapping turtle is, fight me, essentially to show dominance. So the Shredder is ready to take on these 2 enormous 7-foot tall plus hulking creatures. So that's how badass Shredder is, only to be undercut because Shredder's like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You'll end up calling me master. And then there's a beat. And Toka looks to Razor, and Razor looks to Toka. And he goes, Maga, Morma, Mama. And then there's this hilarious scene where these 2 giant drooling monsters hug the Shredder as their mother. And then, rightfully so, the Shredder comes bursting out of his quarters going like, babies! And not only that, that was it. Canonically, that was the last of the ooze. So they just wasted their ace in the hole, their coup de grace on 2 infant creatures because nobody, let's say, because turtles live a very long time, so it's easy to find a young-looking turtle. But a puppy wolf is very easy to spot.
Yeah, as opposed to like a grown-ass wolf.
Yeah, if someone says, find me the 2 most vicious animals, you find a small snapping turtle, you go, whoa. That thing, God knows how old it is. You know how old a puppy is. Like, I hope that, because there was, in the first one, there was a lot of violence toward members of the Foot Clan at the hand of Tatsu and Shredder because they ran a tight ship. Mm-hmm. In the second one, if the idiot from the second one who brought the puppy was in the first one, he would have been disemboweled. But by the second one, he probably just got like a strongly worded memo from Tatsu.
Right. From the desk of.
Yeah, from the desk of Tatsu to the idiot who brought the puppy. What the fuck? Like, are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, so okay, they go into the ooze. Even the turtles, like they go in the ooze. Do they not age anymore then? Are they stuck at
no, they
15
do.
Or whatever, however old they're supposed to be?
No, because the turtles grow up in New York.
Mm.
So that's part of their thing is like they were baby turtles. They got the mutagen very young and they grew into their 16, 17-year-old incarnations. So you still grow. And depending on the source material too, because the mutagen either turns you from a human in... Okay. So in the cartoon, it's not Hamato Yoshi, whatever. So in the movie, Splinter's master is killed. Splinter is the rat who comes to America and gets oozed. Mm-hmm. In the cartoon, Splinter is the dude, not the rat. So the dude is... so canonically in the movie... Splinter's master and his wife are killed by Orokusaki the Shredder. Mm-hmm. Or is he Hamato Yoshi? Oh God, this is great. Anyway, so in the cartoon, it's a lot stupider. What happens is, so Orokusaki and Hamato Yoshi are in they are in the Foot Clan when it was a good guy organization. And the way the Shredder gets Splinter kicked out of the Foot Clan is so stupid. When the Grand Master comes in, Shredder takes a Tonto knife and stabs it into Splinter's gi so he can't bow. And so when the Master comes in, he can't bow, and he goes, "Oh, lower your eyes." One of the guards does, and he can't get down. So he pulls out the knife, and they go, "Oh, you're going to kill the Master." And he's basically banished. Oh. And that singular act, like the Master himself comes over, and he's like, "Get the fuck out of Japan," essentially. And he ends up living in the sewers. So he's a human raising rats, finds the turtles, and then gets covered in the ooze. So the turtles become anthropomorphic and Splinter becomes ratified. Huh. So, and also, depending on what you want to believe, the movie, the ooze is green, and then the show, they use a bright neon purple.
Oh.
And it's so funny too, because Splinter is just living in the sewer because he was unable to explain that the Shredder, before the Shredder was the Shredder, put a knife in his gi. Like, couldn't you point to the thing behind you and be like, "Look, do you think I would come in here and stick a knife in my gi and then into the whatever?"
Well, he could have also lowered his head.
Well, he couldn't. He was trying, and it was...
Yeah, but you can still move your neck down.
Listen, the past is the past. You can't change it. But I just think it's insane because it makes sense for a Japanese guy to get into some trouble with a Japanese gang, to move to New York only to be followed, and the rat ends up in the sewer. There's a logic there. To be disgraced by your dojo, kicked out of your home country, only to end up in New York, and not only because if you were in New York, you could live on the streets. You don't need to live in the sewer. But he took his kimono, he took his ninjutsu books, he took all that shit with him down into the sewer. A little far-fetched. The rat, I get. A dude living in the sewer, it seems crazy to me.
Do you think so? Okay, so with Toka and Razor, since they were mutated as babies, did they? What happened to them? They didn't die? I'm assuming they didn't die.
No, they didn't kill him. What happens is David Warner, the scientist from TGRI, he's the MacGuffin. So he gets kidnapped by the Foot Clan because they need him to either make more ooze or something. They want to use him, because science is good when used for evil.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the Turtles save him and bring him to their new base, which is really cool, I give the second movie this. Their new home is cool because the first one was screwed up and everybody knew where they were. They end up in an abandoned subway station in the second one, which is really neat. So David Warner, along with Donatello, fabricate an antidote to the ooze.
Oh, so they cured the two.
Basically, the MacGuffin is they're like, well, how do we get them to eat this stuff? Because you have to eat it. They said, well, the plan is they're going to freeze it, put it in donuts, and hope for the best. Then there's a MacGuffin where burping is keeping them from... and then they have to use fire extinguishers, which luckily were CO2 based. Watch the second one. It's worth it because the science is so soft already with substance that can change a turtle into essentially a human figure.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got David Warner having to explain scientifically that the chemicals they ingested are producing CO2, which is fundamental for the chain reaction in reversing their mutation. And they need to introduce a large supply of CO2, all the while cutting to these giant creatures in the middle of, again, a Vanilla Ice concert, burping, and then seeing this crowd react to the smell of said smelly burps. It is a trip. And we go from the first one where the ninjas are one with the night to we have 4 turtles dancing just flat out in a Vanilla Ice concert, according to the movie, to a song that they make up on the spot. They don't say it explicitly, but when because everything starts, Vanilla Ice goes, oh, gee, when everybody starts showing up and there's monsters everywhere. But when everything's cool, the music kicks up and Vanilla Ice and his crew are still a little scared, still a little nervous, but they still got their mics. And then you can see Vanilla. He's like, you know what? The DJ, he's over there. He's like the violinist on the Titanic. He's like, you know what? We've seen all this bullshit. The Shredder showed up. We got these giant mutants, and now there's turtles who are apparently good guys. I'm going to lay down some beats. So he does. And Vanilla Ice is like, yeah. And because, again, he would not have reason to write a song about Ninja Turtles.
Right. No.
In the moment, writes the ninja rap and does the whole choreograph. Like, it's synergistically perfect. And that's when the Shredder shows up, and it's just an immediate fall off from there. Shredder shows up. Mikey pulls on the keytar, does the whole Back to the Future thing where he explodes the giant speaker and blows the Shredder out the window. He drinks all the ooze. Dave gets excited for a minute, and then he dies.
Quote.
Dies. No, he totally dies at the end of the second one.
Oh, but doesn't he? I thought you said he came back and was like, hey guys, it's me.
No, and at the first one, he dies. That's the one where he dies.
Yeah.
Because he gets crushed in the garbage truck. And they even imply blood.
Yeah.
But with the second one, they don't. Like, they go so far. Because at the end of the second one, I think even. Or no. So maybe at the end, I was thinking at the end of the first one, but no. At the beginning of the second one, they see him go, and they got the hand coming out of the garbage. At the end, he does basically the same thing, but we all go, whoo, at the end. So he goes, after the whole, like, basically the entirety of the pier collapses directly on him. The turtles jump in the water, they all surface one by one. They go, you see him go, and he's got all of his big, it's the new big Shredder arm, and they go, uh-oh, and then he goes, and dies. So it's not a matter of like, maybe next time, because we get confirmation, because by the third one, it is an insane G-rated beach party where they're doing like conga line style dances and Casey Jones comes back. Elias Koteas, the name of the actor. He comes back for kind of a fun little experience. He's
the original, the guy?
Yeah, from the first one. He skips the second one but comes back for the third one to basically just play a set piece in the framing device for the movie, because they travel back in time. And he basically shows up to assuage the audience and to let them know that April will be okay, because the turtles travel back and they need to swap with 4 old-timey Japanese samurai dudes. So Casey shows up to make sure they don't get, all uppity, but they're fine. And Casey Jones is like super clean, and he's got his hockey stick, but it's like brand new, and his hair's nice and clean, and it's kind of puffy. It's like a brand new wig, and he gets to pretend like because like the most tension in the third movie happens when like the obviously confused samurai dudes from feudal Japan get shunted into present day New York.
Right. And
they go, whoa, I'm crazy with all the weirdness. And Casey Jones gets to do like all right, come on, let's tangle. But then I think like immediately either Splinter or April jump in and be like, hey, here, what's up? Here's some sushi or whatever. And everybody goes back to it. And Casey just sort of gets to go,
all right.
I guess next time. It's a real fall from grace. So as much as I don't watch the third one, or the second one rather, I watch the third one even less because the costumes take a real dip too.
Oh.
They don't use the same costumes from the first to the second, which I get because it was a different studio, and I'm sure there was probably legalese involved.
Mm-hmm.
But by the third ones, they look like cartoon frogs and no longer like turtles.
Oh, that's sad.
And, as a consequence too, the voice acting changes. That's why I think the first one needs to be the gold standard. Because even by the second one, when they what's his name? Guy who played Donatello, Corey Feldman.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wanted too much money to come back for the second one. They're like, no, we'll find someone. We'll find a sound alike. I thought the sound alike was serviceable, even as a picky ass child who was looking for a reason to hate things. Could not that movie can be picked apart, 7 ways to Sunday. But I did not mind Donatello's voice because 1, he was a teenager and teenagers' voices change, and 2, it was close enough that you can be like, yeah, I buy it. The missing weapons, though, were bullshit.
Yeah, that's odd.
But they said, well, we like money and we want to appease, because it was the end of the Satanic Panic, but still early enough in the 90s that people were confused about media. Like they thought video games were violent factories and that movies could make your kids homicidal maniacs. But yeah, like if I were let my kid watch a movie where a giant turtle that learned ninjutsu and lived in the sewers used weapons, that's of course what I would infer. I'd be like, hey, it's not a piece of fantasy. Like they're going to learn how to pick up a nunchuck and hit a dude in the head.
Yeah.
I don't like the weapons. The giant ninja turtle, but the fact they also only eat pizza, we'll let them keep that. We're not worried about that until
not worried about their kids'
90s.
Nutrition.
Yeah, when diabetes becomes an epidemic, then we'll talk. But for right now, I don't want to see those weapons. And, most of them are just, 3 out of the 4 are essentially just different versions of sticks. Raph's got the size, nothing sharp there. Mikey's got the nunchucks, not sharp, just 2 sticks and a cord. Donnie's got his bow, a stick. And Leo's got his swords, but I don't think has ever, outside of cutting the Shredder's arm, ever inflicted any physical damage.
He just used it to block things.
Yeah, he's used it for property damage because in the first movie, in that big fight scene before the fire, he throws his swords into the ceiling, defying the laws of physics, and jumps up and uses them like handlebars. But believable enough for this guy.
Yeah, I'll take it.
First movie is probably a masterpiece. Not probably.
I
It
like
is.
that movie. Yeah.
One of the best movies ever made. I don't want you thinking that it's because about turtles. Because it's about turtles, rather. It's not worth your time. Anyway, guys, we've been going for about an hour. That's probably good enough for one of these shows. I feel like nothing was achieved. Nothing was lost or gained. So you guys have been left where you were, and you're maybe better off for it. Or maybe not. Probably exactly where you were for it.
Or maybe it makes you want to watch the turtles.
Yeah, we're definitely... I got to pop in something. We got to see the hot rodding teenagers from Dimension X, because the incongruity is crazy. Because every time you see Dimension X, it is literally just a hellscape of floating rock in a fiery void with a bunch of rock soldiers and tanks and military equipment. But that very dimension also produces a group of teenagers that ride around in futuristic 50s Cadillacs.
Oh.
And how, you ask yourself? That's what I always asked. Because I say, we don't want to go back. The adults of our dimension are lame. And I buy it. If all the adults are essentially those brown and gray rock dudes, and all they do is wait around in their tanks on floating rocks for a portal to open up from Krang, yeah, that sounds like it would suck. And I would stay in New York if I were you. We'll just run down to the nearest plutonium store, though. That's what their cars run off of. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming by. If you did, we'll catch you next time, whenever that is, on whatever this is.
A live show.
A live show. Let me switch to the logo. Oh, we'll do the outro too. Yeah, this is a professional show. We'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for being here.
Bye.
For this. Try to.